Hello, people. This will be the second video of today. As I mentioned the book, I had to abbreviate the book and author in the thumbnail thing. But this is the actual book, the actual author and stuff. I get a picture. Too close. But anyway, I'm going to read my book review because it does far more than I can say. It gets to the point. So I'll add comments as I go along, of course. The Naturalist, Theodore Roosevelt, A Lifetime of Exploration and the Triumph of American Natural History by Darren Lunde. To understand Teddy Roosevelt, 1858 to 1919, as the museum naturalist said he would one day become, and certainly you should read this book. It's an exploration into the origins of the man's interest and love of nature, of the natural world. I found this book a fascinating look at the man as a true collector of nature, actually going out into the country and finding the specimens to send to museums. That's what he used to do. He'd hunt and send most of it to museums. Most of that stuff in the American Museum of Natural History in New York is from him. He would be considered a museum naturalist, as that was his major purpose and reason for a lot of his hunting, as I said. He didn't just hunt to kill something, and he really didn't. He had a purpose in his pursuits. From that moment as a child, when he discovered the dead seal at the market in New York, which is wonderfully described in that book, by the way. It's interesting. If you begin his love of nature and his love of the natural world, and love of learning nature and how it worked and different creatures, he was a naturalist. If he had been anything else in his life, he would have been a great naturalist. He just stuck to one thing. But that's not Teddy. Even during his European trip via family trips, he was always pursuing, observing, collecting, and yes, shooting his specimens to study and send home. It's an excellent book on the idea he was a conservationist at heart. And he was. He really was a conservationist at heart. He didn't just shoot something to shoot something. Murder something. He understood that if the natural world of America wasn't preserved and protected, it would be gone and vanish before the future generations ever had a chance to see it. He loved nature. He didn't want it gone and taped over by progress and only a memory. The book does show him as he was, a man of his time and place, and a duty to himself as a hunter and a preserver of nature. Excuse me. The book speaks and my sinuses. The book speaks and explores the contradictory nature of this man, but it's a fair treatment. The book also explores the fact that the charter for the American Museum of Natural History in New York was created and founded by the help of his father, Teddy Sr., who was still a boy at the time. It's an excellent book on the man's life and actions in the preservation of nature. It's a good, well-written book on the man and his legacy as a naturalist and hunter, and its thoughts on the life he led from childhood to his last years after his exploration down to the Amazon. And I should have brought that other book over here. I mentioned anyway. Another good book worth reading is Theodore Roosevelt's Darkest Journey, The River of Doubt by Candace Millard. This journey, 1912, almost killed him, and it did. Actually, it did kill him, and that's why he died so young. He did die young. He died at 60. He died young. The Amazon trip almost killed him, and then finally did kill him. But anyway. The point of the two books was he was a man of scientific bent to explore and understand, preserve, and study the natural world. Much of what is in the American Museum of Natural History, as I said, was sent by Teddy to the museum. He really was trying to preserve nature. He was trying to show what nature looked like, and he did his own taxidermy when he was a kid. He collected specimens and animals. He had a menagerie in his house, in his room. He eventually had to exile him outside somewhere because of the smell. It's a book worth reading if you enjoy biographies about Teddy Roosevelt and the study of natural history. Of course, the best three-part biographies of Teddy Roosevelt was written by Edmund Morris, all worth reading, not to mention the books by Teddy himself. I know of H.B. Brand's book of Teddy, but I haven't read that one yet. I do have that one. It's The Last Romantic about Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy is the best example in my mind of a great naturalist, and this book shows that. Hopefully that was more coherent than the last one. I didn't like that. All right, come on, turn off. I don't need you anymore. I mean, I like Teddy Roosevelt. This book is very good. It talks about him as a child getting interested in natural history because he discovered a seal on the New York harbor and was fascinated by its texture and its whiskers, and he would collect birds and collect all manner of things. I mean, he would keep dead things in refrigerators to reserve them and get in trouble for it. As he got older, he had his own museum. This book also discusses a lot of the early museums, the early ideas of museums, where they came from, how they were created. It is a fascinating book about Teddy, as I said. It's also a very good book about early natural history and about early preservation, conservation. I mean, he did his first national forest. He did conservation, the national park system he created. Um, Teddy was a lot of things. He was a contradiction at times, and he was who he was. He was bigger than life. And his journey down the Amazon did almost kill him, and it did eventually kill him because it ruined his health. He never recovered from that. His health was just destroyed. But this book is very good. I mean, I would recommend it to anyone who loves Teddy Roosevelt, who has a fascination with Teddy Roosevelt, who thinks Teddy Roosevelt can walk on water, or at least conserve water. I mean, let's see if I can find interesting pictures. There's an owl. He actually did him, preserved himself, stuffed himself, taxidermied himself. Let's see. There's a few other pictures of him hunting with his son Kermit. In Africa, of course. A lot of the specimens, a lot of the exhibits in the Natural History Museum are from Teddy. Teddy sent them there. I mean, he wasn't just shooting things to shoot things. He really did believe he was conserving, by also conserving to show people what these things look like. He was a fascinating guy, as I keep saying. I like Teddy Roosevelt. I've always liked Teddy Roosevelt. It's probably why I'm kind of into natural history as I am, more than I am normal. Most people just like nature and observe it. I like to study it. But anyway, this is going to be a very short book thing here. But as I keep showing you, that is a man. Keeps doing it, and I just keep going. But worth reading. Excellent book on conservation. The history of the American Museum of Natural History. Early museums. Why he did what he did. His thinking process. The kind of person he was. It paints his flaws, and it paints his good stuff and his bad stuff. He wasn't a perfect man, but he was interesting. He was fascinatingly interesting. I should have brought my book on the River of Doubt over here, but I didn't do that. But anyway, read the book. Get the one on River of Doubt as well. Read the Henry Morrison books, where there is Edmund Morris's books on the trilogy on his life. They are good. Particularly the first one. I think the first one, to me, is probably the best of the three. I haven't read the TR book, The Last Romantic, yet. I have his books on the Rough Riders. I have one of his books. You know what? I'm going to show you anyway. My video, I can do whatever I want. That's the one on the River of Doubt. I mean, it is a good book. And the River of Doubt is a black, uncharted tributary of the Amazon that snakes through one of the most treacherous jungles in the world. Although, after his humiliating election defeat in 1912, Theodore Roosevelt set his sights on the most punishing physical challenge he could find, the first descent of the unmapped, rapid, choking tributary of the Amazon. Together with his son Kermit and Brazil's most famous explorer, I'm not even going to try to say that poor man's name. Roosevelt accomplished a feat so great that many of his time refused to believe it. In the process, he chased a map of the Western Hemisphere forever. Along the way, Roosevelt and his men faced an unbelievable series of hardships, losing their canoes and supplies to punishing whitewater rats. 3 men died, and Roosevelt was brought back on the brink of suicide. The River of Doubt brings alive these extraordinary events in powerful nonfiction narrative thriller that happens to feature one of the most famous Americans who've ever lived. And he was that. See if I can find some decent pictures here. I'll put up any decent pictures. I don't know if you can even see any of that stuff that close. Don't even know if you can see it. But you'll let me know if you can. trying to get it lined up and I can't. There we go. I'm too close. That's the problem. It is a good book. I do like this book. But anyway, the other three books I have are his. Is that one, Wilderness Hunter, and of course, is one of the Rough Riders. I mean, he was a good writer. He's also good have been under my writer's life thing, but I was dealing more with it as a history context. So, but anyway, all books are cool. These are great books to read. Teddy Roosevelt was quite the guy. Anyway, behave yourselves, people, because of course I won't. Comment, share, like, subscribe. Thank you. Behave yourselves. Later.